phones rang, tickets sold, and boom, it was sold out on Wednesday night just like that.
2,000.
This whole story starts with a number. That number is 2,800. It is the number of seats in the grandstand court at SWA Stadium in Toronto. According to every normal rule on the WTA Tour, that is exactly where Alex Eala should have played her second-round match at the 2026 National Bank Open. But 2,800 seats turned out to be way too small for what was about to happen. When the match schedule came out for Wednesday night, the tournament checked their ticket sales and saw something their data system had never shown them before. This 21-year-old player, who is ranked 20th in the world, had personally moved over 5,000 tickets just from her name being in the draw. The main stadium holds over 10,000 people, so the tournament did something they almost never do for anyone outside the top 5. They moved her up to the big court, not down. That is how a young player from Manila became the reason a major North American event redrew its own map in just 1 week. To be clear about the event itself, the National Bank Open is still often called the Canadian Open, and it is one of the top-tier WTA tournaments. In 2026, the women play in Toronto from August 1st to August 13th, while the men play in Montreal. Ella came to Toronto as the world number 20, which is a career high, and she is the first Filipino player ever to reach that level. She arrived just 5 days after winning her first WTA title in Washington, where she beat the world number 3 in a tough final. She also arrived to a schedule change that the tournament director said has no recent comparison. Now here is where the real tension sits, and it is fair to say there is no bad guy here. Tennis Canada did not doubt her ability. The director Carl Hale has run this event for years, and his team uses the same model as every other WTA 1000 event. That model puts top 10 players on center court, next-tier players on show courts, and players in the 20s, especially early in the week, on secondary courts like the grandstand. That system is not unfair. It is efficient. It helps manage cameras, crowds, and daily flow. The system did not break. It just did what it was built to do. But what no scheduling algorithm has is a setting for diaspora density. It cannot count how many Filipino Canadians live near Toronto or how many of them refreshed the ticket page the moment her night match was announced. So when Hale talked to the media, his tone was not defensive. It was almost surprised. He said their grandstand has 2,800 seats, and they could not put her there because she likely sold over 5,000 tickets. That word "likely" is important. It shows a director looking at a number he did not see coming. Let us look at the math, because that part is clear. The gap between the smaller court and the demand tied to her match was huge. If his estimate is right, then the demand exceeded the grandstand capacity by about 80%. That is not a small overflow you fix with better lines. That is a whole court change. And the speed of that demand is just as striking. When her night session was announced, tickets vanished in 30 minutes. That is not casual interest. That is a fan base that had their payment info ready, knew the draw, knew when the schedule would drop, and had blocked off that time in advance. That is prepared demand. Then Hale added something that has echoed beyond Toronto. He said all the tournament directors are talking about this. Everyone in the industry is talking about it. At that point, it stops being a Toronto story and becomes a tour story. If a top event outside the Grand Slams just moved a player outside the top 5 to center court based purely on ticket demand, then every director at every upcoming stop is now recalculating. Cincinnati, the US Open, Beijing, all of them are now adjusting in some way for what people are calling the Ella effect. To understand that effect, you have to look at what she did in Washington just 5 days earlier. She did not just win a title. She beat 3 of the highest-ranked players she has ever faced in a row. She beat the 3rd seed in a long first-set tiebreak, then won a tough semifinal, and in a rain-delayed final that finished on Monday morning, she dropped the first set to the world number 3, then won the next 2 sets decisively. That final score tells you her level went up, not down, under pressure. That win pushed her from outside the top 30 to number 20, made her the first Filipino ever in that group, and took her career prize money past $1.5 million. That is the resume that Toronto ticket demand is responding to. It is not about celebrity. It is about current form. Let me pause on something important here. The interesting part about Alex Eala in 2026 is that her story keeps moving faster than anyone can analyze it. Every week the picture changes. 2 months ago, she was a promising grass court player. 5 days ago, she was a first-time champion. Today, she is the reason a top tournament changed its show court schedule. That is not hype. That is real momentum. And it fits a pattern that goes back further. Filipino fans packed the practice courts at the Australian Open in January. They filled seats at Wimbledon in July when she pulled off a big upset. They were loud at the US Open last year when she became the first Filipino to win a Grand Slam main draw match. This is not a one-city thing. This is a fan base that travels with the tour. And in Toronto, that fan base becomes visible in a unique way because of who lives there. According to recent census data, there are close to 1 million Filipino Canadians in the country, and that is the largest Asian ethnic group in Canada, with over 250,000 of them in the Greater Toronto area. Projections show that number could grow a lot in the next 2 decades. So Toronto is not a neutral tennis market for her. It is arguably her second biggest home crowd anywhere. The grandstand court was never going to hold that many people. The most authoritative voice here is not a commentator, but the person who actually decides which court she plays on. Carl Hale runs this event, and he does not casually move a second-round match to the show court reserved for top 10 players. When he spoke to a reporter this week, he chose his words with care. He said they have never seen a player outside the top 5 have this kind of effect. He said her fans were clearly waiting just to see her play. Those 2 sentences deserve a close read. They're not marketing talk. They're a scheduler admitting his model has met something it cannot measure. Andy Roddick also weighed in from the American side with his usual blunt style. He said the excitement around her is fun, and when you have watched parties filling arenas in her home country for a 4th-round match, he is all in. His comment matters because the industry is now on the record. This is not a novelty. It is an effect. And the stakes of that effect go beyond one match. The WTA has spent years looking for new star power after the retirement of big names. They have invested in production and storytelling. But what they could not manufacture is a player from a market that was never represented at the top before and whose diaspora is dense enough in the tour biggest cities to change ticket demand. That is what Alex Eala is giving them right now. And it comes at a key moment in tennis history. The top of the women's game has been dominated by a few countries for a long time. Asia has produced very few top 20 players in the last decade. Eala at number 20 is not just a symbol. She is the practical entry of a market of over 100 million people in the Philippines, plus a diaspora that is expected to grow sharply in Canada alone within a generation. That is what the Eala effect really means. And the immediate results are already on the schedule. She plays doubles with Venus Williams on center court Thursday night against a strong pair. Cincinnati starts right after Toronto and then the US Open, where for the first time she will walk in as a seeded player. Every one of those tournaments is now watching what Toronto just watched. None of this happened in a straight line. It is worth remembering that just 7 months ago at the Australian Open, she lost her first-round match after winning the first set easily. She dropped the next 2 sets and left with some criticism about consistency. There was no dramatic speech. She just went back to work. Between January and August, her ranking climbed from the low 40s to number 20. She reached a grass quarterfinal, she pulled off a big win at Wimbledon, she won her first title in Washington, and on Wednesday night on the court, she was moved to she beat the same player who had beaten her in Melbourne. The score line itself has a quiet bit of justice to it. So let us go back to that room. 2,800 seats was the room the tour model planned for her. Center court with over 10,000 seats is the room she actually walked into. The difference between those 2 numbers is not a mistake. It is the sound of a community from Toronto, from Mississauga, from Scarborough, from every Filipino Canadian city, deciding within 30 minutes of the schedule release that they would be in that building. It is Carl Hale saying he has never seen this from a player outside the top 5. It is Andy Roddick saying watch parties are filling arenas back home for a 4th-round match. It is the Filipino word for fight carried into the stands of a Canadian tennis stadium in August. The room Alex Eala is in now is not the one the data model predicted. It is bigger, physically bigger, culturally bigger, and by every sign the tour is now seeing in real time, permanently bigger. Cincinnati is next. The US Open is after that. She said it herself this summer that they are all in this together. Whatever room she walks into for the rest of this hard-court season, that is the company she keeps. If you want to follow how Toronto sets up the next round and how Cincinnati and New York respond to the Eala effect, then stay with us, because the room she is in now is only the beginning.